right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. Bob Pompeani here as we invite you to call us on the hotline tonight. It's 412-575-2600, or you can hit us up on Twitter, X as it were, at KDPomp, at The Pony Express. Andrew Filipponi up at 93.7 The Fan. Today, a busy day. The Pirates broke camp. They won a game. They made some interesting roster moves, and they are in Miami tonight getting ready for their opener on Thursday, the first of four in Miami against the Marlins. What was the biggest takeaway from the roster that you had today, Andrew?
They are going to start the season with a rookie starting pitcher, Jared Jones. It's not Paul Skeens who makes the team out of camp. So I guess by that logic, Bob,
there aren't any dominant teams, and you would expect that they should be able to be competitive in it. I understand the Skeens thing, but I also know that, if you really believe that he's ready to go, that, he should be up here. But, I get it. That's the way it does.
So what's your big takeaway then? You disagree? It's not Jones?
No, it is Jones. It's absolutely Jones because of what he did, and because they decided at 22 he's actually younger, I think, than Skeens, and he's up here and Skeens isn't, but Skeens will be. And I wonder now about this rotation because I do think they have some veteran people there who can give you innings. But the C Ortiz, although I think that's a temporary stopgap, I don't know that he's going to be that fifth starter. And I'm waiting for Quinn Priester.
Bob, there's an update on that. Derek Shelton said today Bailey Falter is going to be the fifth starter.
Well, give me Luis Ortiz then. I'll take him back.
I think both of those guys are not very good, so I don't want either one of them, to be honest with you. I want Skeens sooner rather than later. And we got to see what happens with Domingo Germán. I mean, this is an interesting story. This guy's got a perfect game under his belt, one of the few in baseball history to do that. He's had some problems off the field, but when he's pitched for the Yankees the last couple of seasons, he's been very good. It's just a question of getting him on the mound and getting his head in the right place. And if they do that with him, well, then they've added a quality pitcher to their rotation, Bob.
No question about that. And I wonder why they wouldn't, if they considered him, why they wouldn't consider Trevor Bauer. We saw him yesterday, saw a lot of video of him, 3 innings against the Dodgers, pitching for his Mexican team. And he said he'd play here for minimum, veteran minimum. I don't understand. If you're willing to do that, then why wouldn't you do that?
I don't disagree with that, but let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Why do you think all 30 teams don't want to touch Trevor Bauer?
Baseball's blackballed him. That's the only conclusion I can make.
A blackballing has happened here. Then he's got a lawsuit, Bob. I mean, this is collusion then. If what you're saying is true, I mean,
it's
clearly
my
something's
speculation. I don't know
on.
anything true or not true. What I'm saying is, what else could there be? These teams are craving starting pitchers. You get one like this who's a former Cy Young winner at that price, so you're telling me you're not interested, yet you bring in Domingo Germán. I don't, sorry, that doesn't make sense to me. Plus, Chapman had his issues. G1
I was just going to say
was actually charged, and he's on the roster. I'm not trying to make it out like you need all these people. I'm saying if you're doing it once, twice, 3 times, why not one more for 1 year? Because he won't be here after this year.
I hear you on that. I just think it's very odd that all 30 teams have decided not to pursue a guy who they can acquire probably cheaper than usual, and with pitching in such demand, would upgrade any rotation. Now, he is a peculiar guy. He is different. He marches to the beat of his own drum. Even if you take away the off-the-field issue, he's just not an easy guy to get along with. Terry Francona was not a big Trevor Bauer fan, not at all. And I know how much you love Francona, Bob. Mm-hmm. He wanted him off his team. But I'd rather have good players than bad players. And Trevor Bauer is still, I would argue, one of the best 50 starting pitchers in Major League Baseball when he's allowed to play.
We have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. We'll get into the Shohei Ohtani situation. He came out today and basically issued a statement. I think it originally was supposed to be a press conference. I don't think it ever went to that level, and it's going to be interesting to see what baseball does with this. Also, Mike Tomlin spoke today for the first time since all of this activity happened down in Orlando. We have a lot to get into, plus we want to hear from you. It's 412-575-2600. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're live here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. Join us next. Welcome back. Our GMC Sierra tweet of the night. This comes from Big Head Hockey, Jake Gensel in Carolina, who will be here tomorrow at PPG Paints Arena. In 8 games, has 2 goals, 10 assists, 12 points. He's a plus 11. He's been on the ice for 16 goals, 4 and 0 against. And when you look at all of this, you wonder about Carolina, because I think this is the kind of move right now with all the other talent they have down there that can make them a serious Stanley Cup contender. They've always been one under Rod Brindamore, but this takes him over the hump a little bit here, Pony, and it's quite a start for him, which brings us to the Penguins and quite a finish by Colorado yesterday after the Penguins had a 4-0 lead. That was as bad as it gets. I don't care the quality of the competition. You just can't surrender that kind of a lead.
And Mike Sullivan said after the game he was proud of their effort. He thought they gave great effort. What is this now?
And he's a very smart hockey player, good IQ, goes to the net, does all that stuff. And Penguins kind of playing out the string now. Yes.
But we just got to give 60 minutes of our time to this. West Virginia got absolutely screwed tonight against Iowa and Caitlin Clark. I watched the entire game because Caitlin Clark is one of the great athletes in all of sports. She's a phenom. The free throws in this game were 30-5. And I watched the game. There's no way it was that in terms of the style of game or the way it was played. It did not go that way. That's the way it was officiated. These games, it is a farce that the first and second round games of the NCAA tournament are not held at neutral sites. And these teams have home cooking and a home court advantage. If that game was played neutral, I'm not sure Iowa still doesn't get the benefit of the doubt because clearly they want to see her back in the Final Four. She is the meal ticket for the sport. But it shouldn't have been that bad, Bob. It was a joke and a travesty. All of our viewers in West Virginia should feel like they got screwed tonight by the refs. It was horrible.
Yeah, and the other thing is, despite all that, they fought through it. They were down by 5 late in the game, and they had opportunities. And I would agree with you, except that financially they wouldn't make as much money as they do in this situation, I don't think. And until there's more, as far as combination of teams that are good enough that people will travel to, I just don't think that's the case. If you have it at a neutral site, I wonder how many people from West Virginia would have made that trip. I saw some there, but the problem is they're trying to make money on this as well. Listen, Caitlin Clark is a wonder, and she had, almost 30 tonight. Last count, I thought she was at 27. And she's wonderful. Well, West Virginia, I give them a lot of credit how they played. All right, let's get back. We got our number 1 Cochran Go One Better caller of the night, and that's going to be Rex in Butler kicking us off tonight. What's up, Rex?
Hey, fellas. Bob, I appreciate the perspective on skis. I don't want to throw cold water on it just yet. I mean, we're talking about 7 professional innings, right? So just got to hang tight on it, and I think we're going to get our money's worth. We're going to get our excitement. I think it's a prudent decision at this point, and we'll stick with Jones at this point. And that's a good call.
Yeah, but again, if I look at it strictly on what he did, I would have the same result as Jones. But I get, what comes with that. They could have done the same thing. It's a little strange to me how they do it.
I still think starting pitching is the big question, even with Skeens, and I'm banking on him to make 20 starts at the major league level this year or thereabouts and be one of the best pitchers in the National League. I think he'll be right from the very beginning an elite starting pitcher. It's the rest of the rotation. Which Mitch Keller do we get? The guy from the first half of last year or the guy from the second half? Let's hope it's the first half. Gonzalez, the Braves, a team that's trying to win a World Series, said, here, take him, and we'll pay him a lot of money to pitch for you. Now, that worked with A.J. Burnett. I don't see the same qualities in Gonzalez. Perez has had a pretty good career, but the Rangers didn't feel like they needed to use him in the playoffs last year. They just kept him on the bench. So we'll see if he can get it back. Bottom line is I think they have an average starting rotation, and it's hard to win in Major League Baseball, Bob, when your starting pitching is just mediocre.
Yeah, I agree with that. No matter how deep your bullpen is, and they can go to that bullpen quite early when it's healthy. They have 2 guys now on IL, which makes it more difficult, Holderman and Majinski. And then you also have Grandal, which leads us to Henry Davis. I'm glad they had no choice but to give him this opportunity, and I think he did well with it. And now he's going to be their opening day catcher. I wonder a year from now, what are we going to be talking about when Endy Rodriguez gets back?
Well, then Endy Rodriguez can move to first because I don't think Rowdy Tellez is here for the long term. He's on a 1-year contract, and Rodriguez played a lot at first base in the minor leagues. If Davis is great there and handles the pitching staff fine and defensively does well enough, then he should be your catcher for the future. That's why you used the number 1 pick on him. So to me, in that situation, Andy Rodriguez would move to another position and occasionally play catcher to spell Davis and give him a night off behind the plate.
All right, let's go out to Uniontown. We got Chuck. He's a baseball aficionado.
Let's go.
And it wouldn't be
we love talking to Chuck.
We got to talk to Chuck. What's up, Chuck?
Good evening, fellas, and thank you. Your predicted order of finish in the National League Central. Will the Pirates finish with a winning record?
I'm more bullish on them than a lot of people in terms of that. Thank you, Chuck, for the call. I think the Cardinals are the team that most people will look at. I think the Brewers have taken a step back with what they did in this offseason. I think the Pirates have a good hitting team, Andrew. I do. I don't know how much that will help them if their pitching is erratic, but I like Cruz, Hayes on the left side of the infield. I think Davis's bat still is very good. It's going to be interesting to see how Triolo does at second base on a daily basis. And then you're going to have an outfield that can play defense, that's for sure. And can Suwinski, raise the average as well as continue the home runs? I think it's a good hitting team.
So to Chuck's question, what is your predicted order of finish in the NL Central?
Well, I mean, this is anyone's guess, but I would think the Pirates should be able to compete late into the season with this group of teams. This is the only division I see where, they're expecting 84 to win the division, where everyone else has got a couple of hundreds, 95, So no one really expects much of this division, which is why I think these games are important early on, especially, too. You don't want to, fritter some of them away if you don't have to. So I'm saying they're going over their win total, which is, I think, 75. I would go more toward 80 than I would 70.
I have them in third. I have the Cubs in first, the Cardinals in second, the Pirates in third, followed by the Reds and the Brewers. The Brewers are going to go from first to worst with the Corbin Burns exodus of really good players. Hader was traded last year, hasn't been replaced. Devin Williams now the relief pitcher, top one is hurt. So I think they'll struggle this year. Reds, a lot like the Pirates, a lot of young talent there. I don't like their pitching either, starting pitching after their top guys. But I think the Cardinals, Bob, they just had a Murphy's Law season where they finished in last place. I think they will bounce back and be good. And for the Cubs, I thought it was very important that they brought in Bellinger and then Craig Counsell. They stole him from Milwaukee. They now have one of the best managers in baseball instead of a TV analyst, Dave Ross. So I think that is a huge seriously.
Yeah. No, I know.
That is a huge addition for them.
I thought it was a very good move by them. I don't think there's any question. Real quick, I want to get you into what happened down in Florida, the owners' meetings. They made a lot of rule changes, which we don't have time to get into. We'll talk about it maybe tomorrow. Yep. But heard from coaches, including Sean Payton, who pretty much said in one word, the answer was no, whether or not it was easy to get away with Russell Wilson despite an $85 million dead cap hit. His answer, no. But I have my doubts about him with Bounty Gate and everything else. So somebody's going to be proven wrong and somebody's going to be proven right.
Well, look, I heard Mike Tomlin talk twice to local media and then at the breakfast today, and I just can't get over the way he talks about Justin Fields. He's acknowledging that Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback, Bob, but then he says of Fields, the man is oozing with talent. Mm-hmm. Oozing with a lot of meat on the bone. I never heard him talk about Kenny Pickett like that. I don't know if I've ever heard him talk about a backup player like that. So, Russell Wilson, you're the starter, but good luck. The guy behind you, it seems like Tomlin is smitten with Justin Fields and is salivating over the fact that he's got this young quarterback, but he doesn't have a contract beyond this year, Bob, and they're definitely not picking up that fifth-year option because it's too expensive.
Unless he gets in because of injury, plays extremely well, and they figure it's a good move. I know this, Tomlin's used the word pole sitter, which in NASCAR terms means if you're in the pole position is what he's actually said, not pole sitter, but pole sitter. That means you're expected to. It's not guaranteed. You're expected, and maybe all of a sudden Russell Wilson will give way to Justin Fields, who will be like Alex Palou for Ganassi Racing and come out of nowhere and be a star. Who knows? We're going to find out. We got to take a break here. We'll do that. 412-575-2600. Right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, KDKA Plus 93.7 The Fan. Hey, let's find out what's going on tonight. KDKA News at 11 o'clock. Here's Ken Rice with that.
Hey, Bob. Tonight, a community comes together in support of the survivors of last week's fatal fire in Jeanette. Plus, an update on the dog that was electrocuted on a Pittsburgh bridge. And when a local juvenile detention facility is set to reopen, all coming up at 11. Bob, see you then.
All right, Ken, thank you very much. Andrew, before we go, Josh Allen is not coming to Pittsburgh. Instead, it's going to be the man who backed him up with the same last name, former 2018 undrafted guy who's been, I think this will be his 5th team. What's your take on the Allen signing for the Steelers to be the 3rd quarterback? Allen has experience. He once had a really big game, so he's done a little bit in this league at last. All right, Andrew, we're out of time. Thanks again. We'll see you again tomorrow night. I'm sure we have a lot more to talk about. All right, that's going to do it for us. Have a good evening. Thank you for joining us. We're back at 10:35. We hope you join us then. Good night.